Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Ingeborg and this channel is A Stitch Too Far and I'll be talking about my stitching today. How have you all been doing? Hope you're all well. We have a nice and sunny autumn day here in the Netherlands and I have a lot to talk about, as you can probably see by the length of this video. So I have my list and let's just get on with it. Cheers. So what have I been stitching on the past 2 weeks? I think I stitched on 3 projects. One you can see over there, so let's just start with that one. I saved the stitches and I did quite nicely. I'm not sure where I was last time you saw this. I think I might have been up to here somewhere, but I filled in block, I think it's 22. So this is block 23 that I'm gonna start on probably next week, and then there's only this lower bit and then we're done. Yeah, there's quite a few fiddly patterns in this one. I'm sure you can see, so it takes quite a bit of time, but yeah, I can smell a finish. So after I do this one, the rest, usually those little metallic blocks that are going along here as well, will be quite fast. So I think once I get this block done, then I will be getting ready to finish really quickly. So my goal to finish this by this year seems to be, well, reasonable. Because it's November already, guys. Oh my gosh. Yeah, time flies. Before you know it, it will be next year. And I have sort of 2 finishes. One you've seen before, which is this one by Sue Hillis, the Pirate Snowman, and I finished it. I didn't really have a lot to do since last time you saw this. I think I just needed the snowflakes and the lettering and maybe some back stitching, but let me grab something. So here we go, it's done. And I'm really pleased with this. And I have some ideas for finishing it. When I bought the painter's canvas that I used for the Here There Be Monsters, I found some flat ones as well, and I think I'm going to use that one to finish this on. But yeah, oh my, look at it, look at it, look at the parrot. I love that parrot. Oh, there's one thing I did leave out of this, because there's supposed to be a mouth. You can see he's supposed to look like he's not really happy, but I thought without the mouth it was fine. And I've never seen a snowman with a mouth like that, so for me that was more logical to do it like this. But yeah, don't you love the letters too? I wish there was an alphabet of those letters in there, but there's not. So yeah, really like it. And okay, yeah. So, and if you want to see the back, I did travel with the snowflakes, so yeah, got some nice constellations going on the back. But yeah, I figured it was white and probably wouldn't show up once I finish it. And I still haven't worked on my Christmas snow globe, which I think will happen in the coming 2 weeks now, because this one is done. And the Save the Stitches will get going. So there was one more thing that I sort of finished. Not quite, but yeah. Which is a project that when I went to my LNS the other day, she asked me if I wanted to be a part of it. Where do I start? So, I don't know if you've heard of this, but every year there's some town in Europe somewhere is named the cultural capital of Europe, and it's a bit like the Olympics, where you can apply to organize that event. It's the same for the cultural capital. So next year, one of the cities in the north of our country, Leeuwarden, will be the cultural capital of Europe, and in honor of that there are many projects that are starting up, and one of them is to embroider or stitch the longest ribbon. It's a world record attempt, and as far as I know, it's just the longest ribbon. And the topic for the embroidery is peace, and there's a bit of a story behind that, but yeah, not really that interesting to go into without explaining a lot of Dutch history. So I'm just going to say the topic is peace. So each stitcher gets a 30 centimeter long piece of ribbon, and they can embroider it any way they like, as long as they have the topic of peace on it, and they can use any kind of stitch they want. I just use cross stitch, and then the ribbons will be sewn together, and so this is what the ribbon looks like. It's about 10 centimeters wide, and it has a already finished edge. So along this side the ribbons will be stitched together. So they are supposed to be entered as soon as possible now, because by the end of the year the ribbon should be all sewn together and finished to be exhibited in all kinds of places where the cultural capital has events. And so I went digging into my enormous pile of patterns, and I came across this by AuryTM, a sampler for my mother. And I don't know if you can see, but there is a little dove in there that I really liked as a symbol of peace. I looked up what kind of symbols of peace there are internationally, and the dove is one, and of course you have the sort of rocket thing looking one, and there's not this one, but this one. But this is a bit difficult to sew, so I just took the dove and the Quaker style as inspiration, and did my own little version of it. And I really enjoyed stitching this. It was so much fun. So I whipped this out in 3 days, with Saturday a whole day of stitching. But it's almost done. There's only a few empty spaces where I need to check with Joke, the shop owner, what I can do. So these are just some colors that I had laying around. Here's the dove that I really enjoyed. I really liked the Quaker elements in it too. I did adjust the olive branch a bit to make it suit the pattern. And this in the center was supposed to be lettering, and I used one or other of the peace symbols for that as well. But yeah, it's almost done. There is a bit of a blank space here that I could put a little flower in, but I was thinking I would put the year in it, and I need to check with Joke if that is okay. And I might add my initials in over here, just in the like a gray color or something. And if I'm going to put the year in, I'm not sure if I should put the year that I make it, so this year or the next year. So that's what I wanted to check with Joke. But yeah, I'm really happy with this. It's so much fun to stitch. I tried stitching in hand, but I am so not used to stitching in hand anymore that I picked up my smallest Q-snap, and it just fit in there on 2 sides. So that kept it taut, and yeah. So what I did to make this work is I just counted out in the ribbon how tall and how wide it could be, and I just looked around on this picture to see which patterns I liked. Well, this is one of the patterns I used, and of course this one, and I used this. No, where did it go? It's so hard to see in reverse. Oh yeah, so I used this one. This is where the P symbol is in. I left out some of the elements of that. And I used this one, part of it, and this one. And what I did is I copied the pattern and cut out the pieces that I was going to use, and I made a few copies extra to measure out how much space I would have, and then because I use a marker that would go through the back, I could use this side to map out the cut pieces. So these are all individual cut pieces that I just fiddled around with to see if they would fit, and that worked. So yeah, really happy about that. So I used some of the colors in my stash, and I used this Fiberlicious shades of red that I got from Glenn. Thanks, Glenn. I think you might enjoy the fact that I used it for this ribbon. And I used xJudesigns, 2 threads that I had, the Holy Yellow that I've used before, really nice, and the Emerald, the Smaragd Forests, really nice. And I had some Spanish olives for the olive branch, Threadworx, and some Gloriana number 24, which is blueberry for the blues. Yeah, so now this I can send this back. I will take it back to my LNS, and I will discuss how to fill this bit, and then she can sew them together and enter them into for the organization that is gathering up all the parts and making it into a giant ribbon. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. So it's a finish, but it's not quite there yet. And if I ever see the picture of the whole thing, I will definitely share that with you. I'm sorry, that's my phone. I don't know if you can hear that, but oh yeah, and I worked on some other things too, but they're a secret. I will share with you when I can. So I have still a lot of things to share because as I mentioned in my previous video, my LNS had a bargain basement sale last weekend. Yeah, it must have been last weekend. And of course I had to go and check it out, and that was a lot of fun. And I did make a bit of footage, and I haven't checked it to see if it's okay, but if it's okay I will insert it here.
De verzamelplaatsen. Oh nee, ik maak het. Ik heb gewoon toen met heel hoe dat ging.
Just a little bit of stash.
Nee. Maar even kijken hoor.
Ik moet ook weer naar de beurs toe. Nu moet de beurs maar voor zich aan moeten maken, hè?
Nou, er zijn toch ramen in? Er zijn geprijsd in tweedehands. Of nieuwe oude. Moet je luisteren, het gaat er, je mag het natuurlijk wel...
Ik maak even een filmpje, jongens.
Ja,
Dan weet je. De kelder van het paradijs is dit gewoon, hè?
Ja. Dan zit je de benen onder die geheimzinnige stem achter de boekenkast. Ja. Oh, en...
Allemaal boeken.
Super. Super, hè? Ja.
Ja, het houdt gewoon niet op, hè? Overal waar je kijkt. So I went on the Saturday. It was the sale was from Friday until Sunday evening, and I went on the Saturday and had a great afternoon. I made sure that I had all my things done that I needed to be done, and then I went over there just to hang out and look around and shop. It was quite nice to see that it was quite busy. There was a lot of stitches I hadn't met yet, so we had a little bit of a chat. And there were some familiar faces out there. That was a lot of fun to see them again after the last time that we met at the shop for the stitching. And there was lots and lots and lots of beautiful books and magazines and leaflets and fabrics and bins of beautiful fibers. So yeah, I kind of went a bit crazy. But good crazy. So I managed to get some nice books that I've been looking for, and I managed to find some nice threads that I wasn't particularly looking for, but they're always useful, and they were just such a bargain I couldn't leave them. And some magazines, and so I'm just going to pick some things out and show you. So she had, this was kind of a thing that factory had these lying around and they weren't using them anymore, so she kind of made a deal that she would try and sell them. And so there were also a lot of model stitches that she was trying to sell, which was beautiful, beautiful work. I actually saw one that I really want to stitch myself, which was the butterflies by Thea Gouverneur, and I saw that Letitia, Crafty Curator, you're working on that pattern too. But there's a pattern, there's a version of that pattern that has 12 butterflies that was in the magazine. That's the one I really want to stitch. So Joke said she thought she had it somewhere, so she was gonna look for it, maybe, who knows. Like I need another pattern. Anyway. So she had a few beautiful copper Belpool fixtures, I guess you would call it. And I had a rumble through them, and this one I picked up because I like it. It was so cheap, I couldn't leave them there, and I like this simple style. And she had some wooden ones too. So yeah, I'm sure I can come up with something like one of those Victoria sampler things would probably fit. Then we had a good rummage through the bins with fibers, because she said she had a lot of Karen, I think it's watercolors, the pearl cottons by Karen, and she did. So I got lots and lots and lots of Hardanger material to work on, to work with. Oh man, that was so tempting to get more of those, but yeah, got quite a nice bag of them. And then I got some books. This one I showed you before, that I got from my library to try and see if I liked it. And she had several copies of this, and if you're looking for them you might want to contact her and see if she still has them, because yeah, it's totally worth it. This is the hard copy version, hardback, yeah, love this. We'll go into my reference library. Then I found this one by the Embroiderers Guild, an English one or UK one. Oh no, David and Charles, but it's from the UK. And it has some really nice backstory about samplers and different styles of samplers, and it has some patterns in it too, really nice. Then this one I've been looking for quite a long time. Beth Russell, traditional needlepoint, and the main reason is that I wanted this pattern, and yeah, it has some great, yeah, beautiful patterns in here. I will try and do some flip throughs for you, but yeah, love this William Morris. And I got another one of hers, the Victorian needlepoint, and this I got for another William Morris design, the Strawberry Thief. She has 3 different versions of this design in the book. Now this is all needlepoint, but I'm sure people have mentioned this before, that it's color patterns. I'm just going to show you a tiny bit, but it's just, you could read it like a cross stitch. So, ow, my finger stuck. But yeah, I love this, beautiful. And yeah, for that price I couldn't leave it there. It's not like she had like books for $1 or something like that, but she did have really good pricing. So yeah, I couldn't not take advantage of it. And then I found this, which I hadn't been looking for, but I absolutely love. And yeah, there's lots of patterns in here. Again, it's a needlepoint book, but again, it's so easy to convert to it's got a bit of a ink circles feel to it, a bit of a Celtic feel to it. Yeah, I love this. And she also has some ways of making more modern samplers. And I will do a flip through someday of this as well. And then she had some magazines, and again, there were some that had patterns in it that were on my wish list, and if I would ever come across them for a decent price, I would get them, and they were for a decent price, so I did get them. Cross stitcher, I wanted this butterfly, and I wanted this beetle, and I wanted this butterfly. Again, this is cross stitcher. And she had all the Dutch borduurblad as well, and there was one that I just couldn't leave behind. Guess why? Because of the Oriental Lady by Joan Elliott. And this one is beautiful too. There's a lot of great patterns in this one. And then I hit the Hardanger section. And let's just say I hit it pretty hard. So what I did find is, if you have been looking for Hardanger patterns, you might know that Nordic Needle is quite known as a shop for Hardanger materials and designs. And the previous owners used to do a lot of their own Hardanger designs, and they had some sort of competition every year where they would put the best designs into a book. And I found this book from 1998, and I found the book from 1997. So yay for that. That's really hard to find in the Netherlands. And then I found some more by Susan Meyer and Ross Nemo, who are the original owners of that shop. And I must have had Laurie on the mind, which will come, will be clear when I show the rest. And I found this one at, I think I wasn't going to take it, but then I thought, well, you know, there are the styles of stitches in there that I have not seen before with the bows. And I thought I would like to have that just to have the reference on how to do them anyway. And I might actually make this because it's a beautiful drawn thread piece. Then someone was kind enough to point me to this and say, I think you might like that. Yes, I think I might. Because this is one of the options I had in mind for a piece on my family tree. It's called Family Reunion by Rosewood Manor. And then I decided to go upstairs and behave. So yeah, it was so much fun. We had a chat and caught up with some people with news and things. A lot of people were very happy to take away a lot of things, and then still there was so much left. So I'm not sure, she might do that again someday, but it was absolutely the best fun. And then I got the latest issue of Inspirations in the mail. I think I mentioned before that I was going to take a subscription to this. Love this. These are some of the projects that are included in this issue. I really like these ornaments. For now, it's just something I look at and just be amazed by, because oh my gosh, before I can ever stitch that. But it's gorgeous, and I love that I have it, and I will definitely make stuff from this someday, because I don't have any patterns to stitch on. Now, yeah. So I got Happy Mail from Laurie and Mischievous Stitches, and you know, it's nice when people say they would like to send you something, but it's even nicer when they say, I saw this and I thought of you and I want to send it to you. So thank you, Laurie, that really made my day, because she got me one of the Hardanger books, and that will add nicely to my collection. I love this. I love the round ones. And these might actually work for my new belt pulls too. So yeah, I'm definitely going to stitch things from this. And I like this idea as well of, they are like photo frames, stitched photo frames. Really like that. So thank you, Laurie, that is really, really appreciated. And she added a lovely card with it as well, which will go up on my stitching spot where I keep my cards and my needle minders. And then something amazing happened, and I had been, a while back, I had been contacted by someone who watches my videos and who's been keeping contact with me on Instagram, chatting back and forth about questions she had about stitching. And then she asked me, are you still looking for this book? And I thought it was a picture of her holding the book by Julia Line, Arbre de Noé. And I said, yeah, if you got it, you just keep a firm grip on it, because you know everybody wants that book. And then she said, yeah, I don't have it, but I think I saw it somewhere for sale. And she made me a really nice offer for me to buy it from her, which I took because it was a once-in-a-lifetime find. And she sent it to me, and I have it here. And it's, if you're sitting down, if you're not sitting down, you have to sit down now. If you're drinking, you have to stop drinking. Because I have it. And it's got every every pattern in here. I'm not going to do a flip through, but it has all the patterns. It's not marked up, it's brand new. It looks brand new anyway. And it's my holy grail of stitching. And I can't thank you enough, and you know who you are. I'm not going to share your name because I'm afraid the whole world of internet will be bothering you, asking you where you got it. And I'm sure for her it was a once-in-a-lifetime thing too. And she said she wasn't interested in it, so she wanted to offer it to me. Yeah. Thanks a lot. I don't know. Yeah. I'm speechless. I said it before, cross stitchers are the best people in the world. Yeah. So, I had that sitting around close to me for the whole week. I think I got it last week, and I've been looking through it, and there's only one pattern I really don't want to make from this book, and that's the front cover. And I had a discussion about this with Stephanie at Lindy Stitches. And the only reason I don't want to stitch it is because it has boats. And I think I mentioned before that I'm not a big fan of boats. If I can avoid them, I will. And so I will also avoid them in my stitching. Because, you know, I really like the ink circles pattern, Get Crackin', but I'm not going to put a picture of a sinking ship near in my house because that's my biggest fear. Anyway, I've been overwhelmed with with this community. Thank you. So. All that I can say now is that I'm going to keep on stitching for the next 2 weeks, hopefully. I'm going to drop off my part of the piece ribbon probably next weekend, and going to try and finish. I finished the last blackwork block on Save the Stitches. I think that's a goal I can achieve in the next 2 weeks. And probably pick up my Christmas globe. Or maybe, I don't know, I might try and get rid of, or try and finish some of the smaller projects too, because it's been piling up. And I have discovered that I really enjoy the last few months where I've been working on just a few projects, you know, working on one thing for a long time, for a week and a half at a time. It's really what I need right now. I'm not sure if that's ever going to change again, but for now it's what I really enjoy most. Anything else? Not really. Oh yeah. So last time I asked you guys about talking about random facts that were maybe more controversial or not as happy and positive, and there were mixed responses to it. But a lot of you agree with me that it, you know, if you want to stop things from evolving, then you stop talking about it. So I think it's better to talk about it, and it might be hard or difficult, and I know this is going to be difficult, but if we don't talk about it, we're not going to solve it, I think. So, and that's why I will end this video with something that I'm really nervous about talking about, but as I said, I think it is necessary. So if you don't want to watch the last bit, that I totally understand. If you're just here to relax and enjoy yourself, you don't want to hear this kind of thing, that's totally fine. I will see you next time probably. And if you do want to hear which controversy is keeping the Dutch nation in her grips at the moment, then hang around. And this is really, yeah, I don't really know how to approach this, because this is this is a Dutch tradition that if you're not familiar with it, you will be appalled, and I understand why. So let's just dive into it. I'm going to be talking about Zwarte Piet. I've told you before about Sinterklaas, which is our version of Santa Claus, and our version of Santa Claus has little helpers too, but they're not elves. We call them Zwarte Piet. If you translate that, it would mean Black Pete. That's already an indication of where this is going. The origin of this helper of Sinterklaas it's not quite clear. Sinterklaas used to be alone and actually used to be more punishing than the nice guy that he is nowadays. So Sinterklaas would actually go out and scare kids in the Middle Ages more than he would actually help them, because the purpose of him was to make sure the kids were behaving. And there is a theory that he got a companion through a different kind of celebration from the Middle Ages, which is comparable to the German Krampus, which is like a black devil who is there to scare kids into behaving, and if they don't behave, they get taken with him in his big canvas bag. Our Zwarte Piet also carries a canvas bag, but it's full of goodies, and yeah, before I get into that, so there's that theory that it might have come from there. That was one of the origin theories of Zwarte Piet. Another theory is that, well, the whole tradition has changed throughout the centuries. So Sinterklaas used to be alone, used to be a scary guy, then he got a helper with a blackened face and sometimes devilish horns and a bushel of twigs to hit kids with. Yeah. And then it developed into a different kind of character, which we now call Zwarte Piet, and the theory is that was around the early 1800s that he first appeared in manuscripts and in books, referred to as the helper of Sinterklaas. And he was depicted as just a regular black man. Somehow he developed into more of a Moorish man, as the way he dressed. The Moors were from North Africa and they occupied Spain for quite a while, and Sinterklaas is from Spain. He was the Bishop of Spain. So that's how that probably developed into that sort of attire. So nowadays the Zwarte Piet our kids get to see is, well, when I grew up, Zwarte Piet had a blackened face and he had a cap with a feather, and he had sort of a page outfit like the ones that they would wear in the 1600s. When I grew up, the theory behind Zwarte Piet was, what I remember, is that he was there to check on you if you were being good or nice, and would report back to Sinterklaas how you were doing. And if you had been nice, he would have gifts and candy in his canvas bag, and he would hand them out to you. If you had been naughty, you would be put into that bag and brought back to Spain, and you would be made into Zwarte Piet too, because you would be made into a helper of Sinterklaas. And the reason why you would be black is because you would go up and down the chimneys like Santa Claus does, to drop off the gifts. So in my time, they did not, they did have blackened faces, but it wasn't always completely covered. And then it changed. As our economy got better and better, Sinterklaas became more commercial, and there used to be just 1 or 2 Zwarte Pieten. Now there are tens to hundreds of them accompanying Sinterklaas at official things. And they switched from blackface. I know this is cringeworthy, but I'm trying to explain. They switched from using really soot black makeup to using dark brown makeup, which is, I think, one of the reasons why this whole thing is heating up the conversation, let's just say it like that. That was around the same time. Okay, let's just backtrack. So in the last 3 decades since I've been a kid, Zwarte Piet has developed into more of a character. He used to be, in my times, we used to be a bit scared of Zwarte Piet because he would be deciding if he were going to be punished or not. And then in lieu of the better economics, as well as changing views of if you should punish children or not, they changed his role and he became more of a funny, dumb guy. So, brown face, curly black wig, red lips, acting dumb. That was not a nice stereotype to portray, because that is what this discussion is evolved in the last maybe 10 years, I think, is that people have finally stood up and said, hey, this is racist. I think most of you would have said that when I started talking. But I'm adding the history of it to put a little bit of perspective on it, and I think I can safely say I agree that it is totally racist, and I think we should get rid of Zwarte Piet. And that's the argument that has been going around for the last 10 years, and it's a very heated debate between people who are offended by the image of Zwarte Piet and want to get rid of it, and people who are defending the fact that they like this tradition and defending the fact that it should not be regarded as racist. It has no racist purpose, so they want to keep it as a Dutch tradition. Now, here's my view, and I'm not saying this because I think everybody should share this view, although maybe I think they do, but I'm not here to try and convince anybody. I'm just here to try and share with you what the situation is over here. I looked into this on Wikipedia. There is a really good Dutch site where they share a lot of information about the history of Sinterklaas and Zwarte Piet. And there's a few things that I picked up on that site, which are around the time that Sinterklaas got a black helper is around the time that there was a worldwide abolishment of slavery. So that's one. The other thing is about the time when Zwarte Piet changed his makeup from black to brown and started acting silly and dumb, is around the same time when we had a large influx of Dutch colony, Suriname, a country in South America was a Dutch colony, and it grew independent in the late 1970s or the early 80s, not sure. And we saw an influx of Suriname people coming back to the Netherlands because they didn't want to be part of Suriname as an independent country, but they wanted to stay part of the Netherlands. So around the same time that we see an influx of Negro, black, mulatto people, the role of Zwarte Piet changed as well. So I think that is reason enough. And furthermore, if people are being called Zwarte Piet by children just because they have a black skin, I think that's a sign that something's wrong. And for me myself, I've been really thinking about this because I grew up with a different idea of what Zwarte Piet represented, because to me it represented white kids with black faces with soot from the chimney. But when I look back on my childhood, I do remember that I had some black friends, and when we had to do, when we played Sinterklaas, they were automatically Zwarte Piet. And I think that's also an indication of some kind of systemic racism. And I think the argument that we would confuse children if Zwarte Piet would change is not a valid argument, because basically we're talking about children between the age of 2 and 6, maybe 7, who believe this. So that's a 5-year period at max, where you could easily transition and make the role of Zwarte Piet different, make him not necessarily black, which is what is going on at the moment. We have colorful Piets, but now again we see a counter movement of people saying we don't want colorful Piets, we want the black ones. Yeah, so as you can maybe grasp, it is a bit of a messy debate with very, very strong emotions, and I don't think we're there yet. But yeah, I don't think there's anything else to say about it, except that I wish it were different. That's a bit of a bummer to end my video on. Gosh. If you have any questions about this, I will try and find if there is an English wiki version of the page that I used to dig a bit deeper and to do some research. Feel free to ask me questions if you want. We'll see how this goes. I'm a bit afraid that the Dutch discussion will take over the comments, and I will keep an eye out for that. If I think it's getting out of hand, I might close down the comments, but let's hope it doesn't. The reason I'm sharing this is because, as I said, it's important to talk about these things. On that note, I hope you will have a wonderful 2 weeks of stitching, and I will see you again in 2 weeks. Let me know if this was too much. Bye guys.